What's up, guys? Welcome to your mind on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 spoiler review. I'm your boy Mitchell,
It's your boy Chris.
and so we're going to review Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And so, guys, quick heads up, we're talking about spoilers today. So, you don't want to get spoiled, hit that little X in the corner, you'll be okay. Or the back
You've been
button,
warned.
whichever one works for you. So I guess we'll start with the plot. Quick rundown of the plot. Um, so basically, Guardians are doing their thing, saving the galaxy, getting hired by Aisha, and they're supposed to basically kill this interdimensional creature. So, and obviously they pull through, and then Rocket steals a bunch of sacred batteries, actually. So they get chased down, but by a fleet of ships, only to get saved by a mysterious man who turns out to be Ego, Star-Lord's or Peter Quill's father. They end up going back to Ego's planet. Get it? Ego's planet. Ego living planet. Ha ha ha. And so then you actually find out that Ego's actually a Celestial, and that he's been going around planet to planet, impregnating different women of different species in hopes to get a child who also has celestial powers. Fortunately for Peter, he's one of them, and he has basically celestial power abilities this whole entire time, which explains why he was able to hold the Infinity Stone in the first movie. You find out that Ego's whole idea thing, or his whole plot, is to become everything that's living, to basically become the whole life of the universe. And as he was going around impregnating women, he was actually planting seeds of himself into the world that was able to be activated once he has a second celestial, which is why he was trying to impregnate all these women, including Peter Quill's mom. And he could have gone away with it too if it weren't for that damn meddling Peter Quill and his love for his mom, because you find out that it was actually Ego who gave his mom the brain tumor. And so basically from that point on, hijinks ensues, and there's a giant battle between the Guardians, and and Ego. And then eventually, obviously, the Guardians pull through, and then everyone doesn't live happily ever after because the movie ends with the death of Yondu, and
hmm
actually super depressing ending. Not gonna
Yeah,
lie,
very emotional.
and yeah, that's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in a nutshell. You have anything to add for that, Chris?
Yeah.
Any
As
pops,
far
any
as general
admits?
thoughts go, this is a good movie. I mean, it was entertaining. Performances, just like in the first Guardians, was on point. I mean, Bradley Cooper as Rocket was phenomenal. Chris Pratt, Batista, they all brought their A game with this one. So general performances and characters were great. We saw some character development between Gamora and her sister, which was great. Um, we saw a relationship begin to kindle between Rocket and Yondu when they realized the similarities between their lives. Um, However, my issue with this film was just they didn't push any envelopes with this one. They really tried to play it safe, and it was very clear that they found a formula that worked for the first Guardians and essentially just re-implicated that into the first movie. I mean, sorry, into the next movie. And that's exactly what we get. We get like a lot of comedy, like a lot of quips, a lot of puns, which essentially just takes away from the severity of every situation that occurs in the movie because every second line is designed to make the audience laugh. And it will. It is funny, but at the end of the day, it starts to become a bit of a nuisance because you can't take anything that happens seriously because you feel at the end of every interaction. It was just designed to get a laugh out of the audience.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, especially for me, because I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but I mean, there's just I guess I went in with like too much high expectations, especially coming off the first movie. But it was like I felt there was no sense of risk at all in this movie because every time they tried to like emphasize how bad or how dangerous something is, you have Drax coming in making some quick quip about
exactly.
something, or you have Baby Groot, I am Grooting left and right.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's just it. Like what you saw in the trailers is essentially exactly what you got in the movie. It was a lot of them milking Baby Groot and how adorable he is, and a lot of the scenes in the movie revolved around either, you know, Drax's social like inability to recognize social awarenesses, Baby Groot just being absolutely adorable, and then like paying all their attention to that, and it became almost not a scam, but it felt like they only showed what they knew would draw people in from initial impressions.
yeah, and I mean like it's by no means a bad movie,
No, not at all.
but it's just I think just because like we went in with like we wanted so much more than what we were given. Like we thought it was gonna be just more than just the comedy, just the quips,
Exactly.
because this whole movie is basically is just a giant comedy.
Essentially.
Like I like you usually in Marvel movies you would have that occasional joke, yeah, and the ones where everyone starts laughing. But for here, it was almost every 2 minutes they were
Oh
just
yeah.
shooting jokes at you, which is great. That's fine. I totally okay with it. It's just I went in thinking it was going to be, a space adventure action, space battles and like it was in the first one, and that just wasn't there.
Yeah. That's just it. It's exactly it. I mean, every Marvel movie has that element of comedic relief, right? It helps ease you out of tense situations in the movie. So it is a fundamental aspect of all Marvel movies. And with characters like Chris Pratt, you're definitely going to encounter those kinds of scenes. But the problem starts to come when every scene is revolves around of the fact that it's a comedy. And that aside, my problem, like again, it's an entertaining movie. You're gonna enjoy what you watch, but it was very generic, and I didn't believe in the peril. I didn't believe in the tragedy that they were going through. I didn't believe that anything they were doing was dire at all. It was essentially just the Guardians of the Galaxy versus another generic, faceless entity that you ultimately knew they were going to come out successful, and it was just very difficult to get invested in most of what the movie was trying to do.
Well, I mean they did lose Yondu.
Yeah, they did. That's where the movie took a very drastic turn in tone. I think the movie became exponentially
But I
more
mean,
emotional.
just pick up what you just said. The whole faceless entity. There's that one scene where like you see Yondu coming in, or Yondu's buddy. That I can't remember his name. Like the second in command there. When
Yeah.
when he comes in and you just see the planet and you see Ego's face, like
Hmm.
like like frame for frame from the comics. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's
Yeah. That was
that's what
a
it
that,
is.
that was a nice treat for everybody, for all of those hardcore comic fans.
Also, just throwing this out there, Howard the Duck is also just in the movie for
Hmm.
like one scene, just
Yeah.
like randomly, and then Sylvester Stallone is part of the OG Guardians.
Yeah. He made an appearance.
Like they're like, at the same time, like as much as they're like putting all these things in to make it like super like not like super generic, but like to like be able to reach the masses, there were so many like little Easter eggs of just like if you know anything about comics, like
Yeah.
this is for like not even anything. It took me a while to realize that Sylvester Stallone was like the OG Guardians, and like he had his whole team there.
Yeah. It wasn't until the end of the movie.
Yeah, and even at that, like I don't even know half their names. I just know that they're the the
Yeah. You just
OG
you just
Guardians.
recognize the characters they're portraying
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. But I mean, like that was great.
No, you're definitely gonna notice if you're a comic fan and you follow the Marvel series, you're definitely gonna notice a few Easter eggs here and there, little things that you're gonna be able to appreciate for sure. And the end of the movie, like I said, takes a very emotional turn, and I think that's actually a part of the movie that I really did enjoy because you did feel for the characters in that moment. It was nice to see that the relationships that were developing between the characters you actually invested in them because when Yondu dies, I mean I can't speak for everybody in the theater, but when he died, it was a shocker to me for sure.
Oh, well, I mean, the first 10 minutes of the movie, Sylvester Stallone comes up to Yondu and is just like, "Oh, you're not a good Ravager. You know, you're breaking the code. You're not gonna have fireworks play at your funeral."
Yeah,
And I
no, they
was like,
definitely
"Okay, why would you say that? Why
yeah, they
would you say
definitely
that?"
hinted at Yondu's death, but when I say shocker, not necessarily that I didn't see it coming, but more in the sense that you didn't realize how invested you became in his relationship with Rocket until you saw Rocket's
And
reaction to
not
his
even with
death.
Rocket, man. With Peter, you find out that
Yeah,
that
that too.
he didn't kidnap Peter so he could become a thief with him. You kidnapped him because he was saving him from his father.
Yeah, he was saving his life because his father killed all of his other offspring.
Yeah, so like Yondu's actually like a great guy.
He's essentially the Snape of the Marvel universe.
He basically he's
Yeah.
the hero that we don't need.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess we can talk about like piggybacking off all these Easter eggs. I guess we could talk about the after credit scenes.
Yeah, the five after credit scenes that
Yeah.
this movie had.
So the important ones that we actually need to care about is that Aisha has now created what looks like the cocoon of Adam Warlock.
Indeed.
So Adam Warlock confirmed for Guardians 3? Question mark, question mark.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to add a lot more depth to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think if they do this right, which I do believe they will nail it, it'll definitely the hype train is going to be real for
Okay,
the
but real talk now. Is
yeah.
Adam Warlock gonna be the villain, or is he gonna join the Guardians?
Um I think it's going to be a lot of character development because based on the the end credit sequence, it's insinuated that he's being created to destroy the Guardians of the
But that's what I'm
Galaxy.
saying. But he's not a villain.
But he's exactly. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is going to be initially he's going to just be a follow orders kind of character. He's going to do what he was designed to do. And again, this is all speculation, but at some point in the next film, there's going to be a conflict of interest that causes him to join the Guardians because again, he's not actually a
But you
villain.
also you also have to remember that Guardians 3 comes out after both Infinity Wars, or Infinity War, and then the Untitled Avengers sequel to Infinity War.
Exactly.
So I mean, like you gotta assume Thanos is no longer a threat. So it's like like how what's so big that like that Adam Warlock is gonna be like, oh yeah, I need to help you guys.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I mean, just look at the movie we just watched, right? Thanos had absolutely nothing to do with any of it,
Yeah, but I mean,
right?
but yeah, but we also thought the movie had absolutely no risk whatsoever. So there's that.
Yeah, essentially, that is true. But they still managed to develop some sort of plot
Yeah,
based around the Celestials, and the only mention or reference to Thanos at all in the movie was just between Gamora and her sister and their past with being the daughters of Thanos.
Nebula's
But
just being a little baby.
essentially, but there was no direct reference to Thanos, and they still managed to develop some sort of a plot and a main villain and a story.
Yeah.
So I don't doubt that they're gonna come up with something to surprise everybody in Volume 3.
All right, and I guess the other important after credit scene, you well after credit scene, but it's also in the movie, so it's not actually like a surprise. But you find out that Stan Lee is officially a Watcher.
Yeah, yeah.
So
He makes his cameo about midway through the movie, and then another appearance at the end credit scene.
which was kind of weird, not gonna lie. But just I guess that means, technically speaking, every movie Stan Lee has appeared in is part now of the MCU's multiverse,
Yeah, yeah,
which
essentially.
which means that if there was like a crazy new deal, but like the Spider-Man deal, but with, let's say, like X-Men,
Hmm.
you could technically bring them in through just the multiverse and be like, oh, we come from a universe like the MCU is just like a universe where like the X gene doesn't exist,
Exactly.
or it was cured, and like there's just so much possibilities now.
Yeah, there's just so much to talk about now. We could make an entire segment just talking about that alone, but I think it's pretty clear that it was a scene that was maybe shoehorned into the movie to add that expansion and
Because
to add
there's
that potential.
well, yeah, there's one thing if you put it in the movie as an after credit scene, but they put it in twice. They had it
Exactly.
in the movie itself and then in the after credit. Like, so that potential Fox Marvel deal confirmed. Maybe what?
Maybe it could mean a lot for the potential of the future of the franchise. We've never had an X-Men Avengers crossover, but we might get one now. There's a lot of possibilities with just adding this really small concept.
Uh, who knows? Anyway, so I guess to just wrap things up. Uh,
Yeah.
what would you rate the movie on 10?
Um, Direct rating off of first impression, first views, first impressions, first thoughts. I'm gonna give it a 7 on 10.
7 on 10. That's
Yeah, it's it's a good time. You're going to enjoy the movie. You're going to enjoy the humor. There are some great action sequences, some great shots, but ultimately, it it's not gonna it's not gonna introduce anything you haven't already seen, especially if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy 1. They took no risks. The villain ultimately ended up just being a generic faceless villain at times, and you didn't feel any sense of peril throughout the movie. You just felt that it was the Guardians versus this threat that is threatening the entire universe that they'll ultimately overcome. Like, you didn't feel that anything they built with the villain in terms of relationships and connections, granted that it was Peter's father, you didn't feel like any of that mattered by the time you got to the last action sequence. So for that reason alone, like the lack of depth and just originality, I'm gonna have to give it a 7 on 10.
See, I agree with you, but I feel like it didn't take away from it that much. So I'd probably give it like an 8.5 on 10. But
Hmm.
like you're totally right. Like I said, there was no risk. Like it kind of felt like so so secluded, and just it kind of just happened. But like at the same, like it was so much bigger than that. But I felt like it was nothing important. And but I mean, I still enjoyed it. I'm definitely gonna see it again. And
Yeah,
despite all those problems, I don't think it. I'm just nitpicking. At this point, I feel like I'm just nitpicking at it. So
of course. I mean,
so it
there's
to me, it's still like an
yeah, we're definitely
easy
being critical
8.5.
about it. And again, you will enjoy this movie. Performances are phenomenal. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna have a good time. You know, it's a movie for all ages.
Jesus, the most generic
It's just,
pitch you're giving out
it's
right now.
just, do not. My word of advice would be to not go into this film expecting to be
Don't
wow. There's
well
there's
don't
no wow
expect
factor.
Guardians 1.
Exactly. Don't expect to be as shocked by how well Guardians of Galaxy 1 was. You know,
Yeah.
they just pretty much rehashed and recycled the exact same formula, applied it to a separate generic plot with a villain that you're probably going to forget after leaving through the movie theater. and that's about it.
All right. Well, on that low note, I guess that's it. Also, guys, remember, get your Zunes out. They're going to be coming back now. Zunes confirmed 2017 new hot item.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that was your mind on. Don't be afraid to comment below if you agree, disagree with us. Let us know. Cause subscribe if you like what you're hearing.
And let us know what you want us to talk about next.
Exactly. Again, I'm Mitchell,
And I'm Chris.
and this was your mind on. Peace.